Jehoshaphat and Ahab, two opposite people, two opposite kings. Jehoshaphat loved his people, brought about righteousness, justice, brought about an educational system. He worked for his people. He's taught them. Ahab was a wicked king, brought about the worship of Baal and would kill his own people to get a vineyard. Two opposites. Well, in this story, Jehoshaphat asks Ahab, is there a prophet? Can we ask a prophet about this? And so Ahab calls in 400 prophets. Who were these people? I mean, his prophets, the Baal, had been killed on Mount Carmel. Well, if you remember that when Elijah told Ahab to bring the prophets to Mount Carmel, he asked for the prophets of Baal and the prophets of Asherah. Asherah was a goddess, which was a female god. I mean, it was a goddess, it was an idol that women worshipped, mostly. They had Asherah poles and little Asherah idols. Well, they didn't go to Mount Carmel. Consequently, they are still alive. More than likely, and most people believe that these 400 prophets, what Ahab at that point called prophets, were actually the 400 priests of Asherah. Micaiah. Micaiah came in, and people have two little problems with what he did. First of all, they point out the fact that when he came in, he prophesied something that wasn't from the Lord. That he said, oh yes, God wants you to go to this battle and you'll have great success. And that wasn't true. You have to remember, he was saying it sarcastically. He was mimicking what the priest had said. And he said it in such a way that even Ahab knew. He said, now stop doing that. Tell me the truth. Stop this messing around with me. What is the message from the Lord? I mean, Ahab already told Jehoshaphat that he was going to say bad things. And now he's mocking and saying good things. And so he wanted him to straighten up and say it right so that he could say to his friend, see, I told you this is what he would say. The other thing that people have a problem with is that God went to his angels and said, what can I do? And one of them said, I'll be a lying spirit. And so God sends a lying spirit. No, that was a parable. That didn't actually happen in heaven. You say, well, yeah, but it's in the Bible. He gave it, what is in the Bible, and the truth of the matter is that's what Micaiah said. He was a storyteller. He was a prophet, but he was using storytelling to make his point. It's just like in the book of Judges when the man said, well, the trees all went to the olive tree and went to the fig tree and went to the grapevine, and the thistle said, be our king. Well, the trees didn't actually do that. He was just making a point. Jesus used many parables. Doesn't mean that they actually happen. They were used to make a point. And so it is with Micaiah. He is giving a parable to emphasize the fact God wants you to go into the battle so that you'll die. And that was from the Lord. King Ahab, interesting, he was the son of a king by the name of Omri. Omri had been king only for 12 years, and he was a wicked king. Two things to note about him is that he's the one that moved the capital city of Israel from Shechem over to Samaria. It wasn't very far, but he is the one that moved it there, and it stayed there the rest of the time. So much so that even down to this day, the people were called Samaritans. So Samaria, that was the act of this one king. But not much is said about him in the Bible. But in secular history, the land became known as the land of Omri. And even though he only ruled for 12 years, secular history has a lot about him, a lot of things that he did, and he was definitely noteworthy. This one minor point here is we're now nearing the end of 1 Kings, and it's just worth the noting that the book of 1 Kings starts with King David and ends with King Ahab. Two opposites, the great King David and the infamous King Ahab. One last note here is about Jehoshaphat. He did many great and wonderful things, but he wanted to do something special. He wanted to reunite the northern and the southern kingdoms. He wanted to reunite Israel with Judah. And personally, that sounds like a noble thing. I mean, that sounds like a wonderful thing, except it was not God's will. He did not seek the Lord's will in this thing. Everything about that was a disaster. First of all, he went out in the battle with Ahab and almost got killed. Secondly, he arranged a marriage between his son and Ahab's daughter. And Athaliah was a wicked queen of Judah and literally almost killed the entire lineage of David. And actually took over the kingdom and became king for 7 years. The last thing is Ahab's son, Ahaziah, made a business deal with Jehoshaphat on some shipping, and that was a disaster too. So absolutely nothing worked out. Well, trust you come back next week when we give you more insights on the story of the week. We'll see you next week.